She was the villain. She was the third person in the marriage. She needed to rehabilitate her image.
She hasn't, no. She's more of a soft influencing, modest kind of instruction.
Royalty in chaos. In a jaw-dropping twist, Prince William drops a bombshell through Buckingham Palace and leaves Queen Camilla heartbroken. His unusual decision could shake the monarchy to its very core, igniting a storm of betrayal, loyalty, and family ties. What could have driven the future king to take such a drastic step? And how will the royal family survive the fallout? The truth behind the prince's bold move will leave you speechless. Join us in this thrilling episode as we reveal Prince William's choice that shattered Queen Camilla's heart. Prince William's dropped the bomb. The relationship between Prince William and Queen Camilla has had its ups and downs over the years. Initially, Prince William and his brother, Prince Harry, were wary of Camilla due to her past with their father, King Charles III. However, with time, Prince William has warmed up to Camilla, partly thanks to his wife, Kate Middleton. The prince's change of heart towards Camilla began after Prince Harry left the royal family in 2020. And Kate Middleton deserves accolades for mending his relationship with Camilla. The two have developed a more familial relationship. Some time ago, Prince William's dropped a bomb. Prince William has reportedly supported the Queen's decision to give Duchess Camilla the title of Queen, according to a palace source. The Duke of Cambridge has reportedly recovered from the huge family rows that plagued the early stages of Prince Charles's relationship with the Duchess of Cornwall, and has since accepted her important role in the British monarchy. Her Majesty's decision has been warmly welcomed by the Prince of Wales, who made an adorable tribute to his wife of 16 years in celebration of the news. As for Charles's eldest son, Prince William, accepting Camilla as Queen has been a more complicated journey. It's understood that the Duke of Cambridge endured huge family rows during the early stages of his father's relationship with the Duchess of Cornwall, an ordeal that likely exacerbated his suffering in the aftermath of Princess Diana's 1997 death. Prince Charles's extramarital affair with Camilla was largely blamed by William for his mother's unhappiness when she was alive, and continued to be a sore point after she had passed away. Fortunately, it looks like these resentments have healed over time. Prince William attended the civil wedding of Camilla and Charles in 2005, alongside his younger brother Harry, and has reportedly put their rocky past behind them. According to a palace source, Prince William is not particularly close to his stepmother, but they get along perfectly well and are quite the blended family now. Following his late grandmother's wish, Prince William has made the tough decision to accept Queen Camilla as the Queen. And the old woman, Queen Camilla, could not restrain the tears running down her cheeks. Queen Camilla's tear was sponsored by her long years of battle from being a princess to finally adding the Queen title to her name. Shand before the crown. The journey from Camilla Shand to Queen Consort has been a long and tumultuous one for the wife of King Charles III. Having married the then Prince Charles in 2005, Camilla Parker Bowles, as she was then known, chose not to take the title of Princess of Wales, given the huge public opposition to her following the death of Princess Diana. Yet, having once been vilified, she has slowly transformed her standing with both the royal family and the British public. It culminated in a statement on the 70th anniversary of the Queen's accession to the throne. In it, Elizabeth II made clear that when her eldest son took the crown, it was her sincere wish that his wife Camilla be known as Queen Consort as she continues her loyal service. The candid message set about paving the way for Queen Camilla. Charles has long harbored a firm desire that his wife should carry the title of Queen Consort and be thus crowned and anointed when he becomes king. Yet, given the unprecedented length of the Queen's reign, the title of Queen Consort will be unfamiliar to many and might raise the question of why Prince Philip wasn't similarly known as the King Consort. Camilla now wears a crown. However, this is not fully the Queen's crown. There are differences between both. let's explore what the Queen Consort title is. Queen Consort versus Queen Camilla. The former Duchess of Cornwall has not become Queen Camilla in her own right, because the throne can only be inherited and cannot be taken by members who married into the royal family. She will instead be given the title Queen Consort, which will allow her to be anointed at Charles's side at his coronation, just as the last Queen Consort, the Queen Mother, was when King George VI was crowned in 1937. It completes a remarkable turnaround for Camilla, as few women had been as publicly vilified as she was. She was the other woman in the marriage breakup of the century, endlessly compared to Diana, Princess of Wales. In choosing Charles, she upended her life. For years, she was hounded by the press, her character and appearance relentlessly attacked. But she weathered the storm and gradually cemented her position as the most senior female member of the royal family. Camilla has slowly gained popularity amongst the public, with the latest YouGov poll placing her as the 8th most popular royal, with the evolution of her title proof of that transformation. At the time of Charles and Camilla's wedding, she announced she would take the lesser title of Princess Consort, which remained her official position until her status as Queen Consort in waiting was confirmed later. Camilla faced several royal battles. While you're still here, let's explore these emotional tussles together. The Consort's Conundrum. The wives of ruling kings have traditionally become queen consorts, although the husbands of sovereign queens do not have the right to a royal title. Following in the footsteps of Prince Albert, the husband of Queen Victoria, the Duke of Edinburgh was given the title of Prince Philip in 1957, 5 years after the Queen took the throne. Her mother, who was married to King George VI, was known as Queen Elizabeth, and then, after his death, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. Though women traditionally receive an equivalent title to the male royal they marry, men are not honored with an equivalent title to their wives. That's why Prince Philip did not receive the title of king or king consort when he married Queen Elizabeth II. This is because there are more variations of a queen than there are of a king. That she is a queen consort might not have earned her as much regard, but her tasks carry as much weight. A royal support system. The queen consort's primary role is to provide companionship and moral and practical support to the reigning monarch. While the monarch plays a constitutional role in approving bills before they become law, the queen consort does not hold a formal position in the structure of government. She also does not see official state papers or hold official audiences, although she is queen consort over 15 other Commonwealth countries where King Charles is head of state. The Times of India has reported that Camilla is also set to inherit the world's most controversial diamond, the Koh-i-Noor, which forms part of the imperial state crown, which was created in 1937 for the coronation of King George VI and later went to Queen Elizabeth II. The paper reported that the priceless diamond, which was originally found in India's Golconda mines in the 14th century and came into British hands during the colonial era, is the subject of a historic ownership dispute and is claimed by at least 4 countries, including India. The Daily Mail previously reported that the crown that has the Koh-i-Noor has only been worn by female royals because it is said to be unlucky for men to do so. This has remained one of the most bizarre truths of the century. There have been concerns over whether her being queen consort is synonymous with being queen. This is what it truly means. Has Shand become queen? Queen Camilla? Technically, yes. That's because if a male sovereign is married when they exceed the throne, his wife is traditionally anointed and crowned in a short ceremony. That takes place after Charles III is crowned and the homages are paid. Following Queen Elizabeth's passing, Camilla became the 29th queen consort to be crowned at Westminster Abbey. Like her husband, she was anointed with holy oil by the Archbishop of Canterbury, this time without a screen, which demonstrates the different nature of anointing a consort compared to a reigning sovereign. The keeper of the jewel house then presented the consort's ring which symbolizes promise and commitment, marrying her to the king and both to God and their people. Next, she was crowned with Queen Mary's crown, marking the first time in recent history that a new crown wasn't made specifically for this occasion. Back when Queen Mary paid for the silver crown in 1911, her intention was for it to serve as the permanent crown of future consorts. Camilla opted to wear Queen Mary's crown, a decision made in the interests of sustainability and efficiency. However, she made some minor changes and additions. Specifically, she wanted to honor her late mother-in-law by resetting the crown with some diamonds, the Cullinan 3, 4, and 5, from the Queen's personal collection. She was then presented with the scepter and rod before committing herself to lifelong service supporting her husband. Finally, Camilla was enthroned. This was followed by an original composition by Andrew Lloyd Webber that set verses from Psalm 98 to music. Let's journey to what the world called royal adultery when Charles and Camilla were first caught together. Camilla's hidden romance with Charles. Shand reportedly met Prince Charles in mid-1971. Andrew Parker Bowles had ended his relationship with Shand in 1970 and was courting Princess Anne. Though Shand and Charles belonged to the same social circle and occasionally attended the same events, they had not formally met. Giles Brandreth states that they did not first meet at a polo match, as has been commonly believed. Instead, they first met at the home of their friend Lucia Santa Cruz, who formally introduced them. They became close friends and eventually began a romantic relationship, which was well known within their social circle. As a couple, they regularly met at polo matches at Smith's Lawn in Windsor Great Park, where Charles often played polo. They also became part of a set at Annabelle's in Berkeley Square. As the relationship grew more serious, Charles met Shand's family in Plumpton, and he introduced her to some members of his family. The relationship was put on hold after Charles traveled overseas to join the Royal Navy in early 1973 and ended abruptly afterward. There have been different explanations for why the relationship ended. Robert Lacey wrote in his 2008 book, Royal, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, that Charles met Shand too early, and he had not asked her to wait for him when he went overseas for military duties. Sarah Bradford wrote in her 2007 book Diana that a member of the close circle of his great-uncle Lord Mountbatten claimed Mountbatten arranged for Charles to be taken overseas to end the relationship with Shand, to make way for an engagement between Charles and his granddaughter, Amanda Catchpole. Some sources suggest Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, did not approve of Shand because she wanted Charles to marry one of the Spencer family granddaughters of her close friend Lady Fermoy. Other sources suggest Shand did not want to marry Charles, but instead Andrew Parker Bowles, having had an on-and-off relationship with him since the late 1960s, or that Charles had decided he would not marry until he was 30. The majority of royal biographers agree that Charles would not have been allowed to marry Shand had he sought permission to do so. According to Charles's cousin and godmother, Patricia Catchpole, second Countess Mountbatten of Burma, some palace courtiers at that time deemed Shand unsuitable as a prospective consort. In 2005, she stated that with hindsight, one can say that Charles should have married Camilla when he first had the chance, as they were ideally suited, but it wouldn't have been possible, not then. Nevertheless, they remained friends. In August 1979, Lord Mountbatten was assassinated by the Provisional Irish Republican Army. Charles was grief-stricken by his death and reportedly relied heavily on Camilla Parker Bowles for solace. During this period, rumors began circulating among close friends of the Parker Bowleses and in polo-playing communities that Camilla and Charles had rekindled their intimate relationship. A source close to Parker Bowles confirmed that by 1980, they had indeed rekindled as lovers. There are also claims by royal staff that it occurred earlier. Parker Bowles's husband, Andrew, reportedly approved of the affair, while he had numerous lovers throughout their marriage. Nevertheless, Charles soon began a relationship with Lady Diana Spencer, whom he married in 1981. The affair became public knowledge in the press a decade later, with the publication of Diana, Her True Story in 1992, followed by the Camilla Gate, also known as the Tampon Gate tape scandal, in 1993, when an intimate telephone conversation between Parker Bowles and Charles was secretly recorded, and the transcripts were published in the tabloid press. The book and tape immediately damaged Charles's public image, and the media vilified Parker Bowles. In 1994, Charles finally spoke about his relationship with Parker Bowles in Charles, the private man, the public role with Jonathan Dimbleby. He told Dimbleby in the interview that Parker Bowles was her very great time and that they would keep being friends for a very long time. He later admitted in the interview that their relationship was rekindled after his marriage had irretrievably broken down in 1986. Due to their love and regard for Princess Diana, the world came together to backlash Camilla. Camilla under fire. Her parents were both, in their way, role models when it came to carrying on quietly in the face of adversity. Camilla's father, Major Bruce Shand, was a decorated war hero who had spent more than 2 years of World War II as a prisoner of the Germans. Meanwhile, her mother, Rosalind Shand, faced her painful battle as a longtime sufferer of the bone disease osteoporosis. In the early 1990s, Camilla was in real need of patience and stoicism. Press attention was growing ever more frenzied. In 1993, the transcript of an intimate phone conversation between Camilla and Charles was published by the Daily Mirror. The story became known as the Tampon Gate tapes because at one point, Charles expressed a wish to become her tampon. There was fresh embarrassment when Princess Diana told the BBC in a now discredited Panorama interview that there were 3 of them in this marriage. For his part, Charles said that his romance with Camilla only started after his marriage had irretrievably broken down. In 1994, Camilla and her first husband, Andrew Parker Bowles, began divorce proceedings. A year later, Charles and Diana would do the same. However, it would be another 5 years before they were finally seen together as a couple. The public attitude toward Camilla began to change during this period, partly due to the appointment of Mark Bolland to the royal household in 1997. Both Charles and Camilla tried rehabilitating their image, but did it work? A royal revamp. Following both of their divorces, Charles declared his relationship with Parker Bowles was non-negotiable. Charles was aware that the relationship was receiving a lot of negative publicity and appointed Mark Bolland, whom he had employed in 1995 to refurbish his own image, to enhance Parker Bowles's public profile. In July 1997, she was involved in a head-on car accident while driving to Highgrove House, though neither she nor the other driver sustained any major injuries. Parker Bowles occasionally became Charles's unofficial companion at events. In 1999, they made their first public appearance together at the Ritz London Hotel, where they attended a birthday party for her sister. About 200 photographers and reporters from around the world were there to witness them together. In 2000, she accompanied Charles to Scotland for a number of official engagements, and in 2001, she became president of the Royal Osteoporosis Society, which introduced her to the public. Parker Bowles later met Queen Elizabeth II, for the first time since Parker Bowles and Charles's relationship was made public, at the 60th birthday party of the former Greek king Constantine II in 2000. This meeting was seen as an apparent seal of approval by the Queen on her son's relationship with Parker Bowles. After a series of appearances at public and private venues, the Queen invited Parker Bowles to her Golden Jubilee celebrations in 2002. She sat in the royal box behind the Queen for one of the concerts at Buckingham Palace. Charles reportedly paid privately for 2 full-time security staff for her protection. Although Parker Bowles maintained her residence, Ray Mill House, which she purchased in 1995 near Lacock in Wiltshire, she then moved into Clarence House, Charles's household and official residence since 2003. In 2004, she accompanied Charles on almost all of his official events, including a high-profile visit together to the annual Highland Games in Scotland. The media speculated on when they would announce their engagement, and as time went by, polls conducted in the United Kingdom showed overall support for the marriage. Despite this image rehabilitation, Parker Bowles received backlash from supporters of Diana, who wrote to national newspapers to air their views, especially after Parker Bowles and Charles's wedding plans were announced. This sentiment was later parodied by internet trolls on Facebook and through fake fan pages and accounts dedicated to Diana. It didn't matter to the couples what they thought of their love. Rather, they took steps further into legalizing their romance. The couple's second chance at marriage. On the 10th of February, 2005, Clarence House publicized the engagement of Camilla Parker Bowles and the Prince of Wales. As an engagement ring, Charles gave Parker Bowles a diamond ring believed to have been given to his grandmother when she gave birth to Charles's mother. The ring comprised a square-cut diamond with 3 diamond baguettes on each side. As the future Supreme Governor of the Church of England, the prospect of Charles marrying a divorcee was seen as controversial, but with the consent of the Queen, the government, and the Church of England, the couple were able to wed. The Queen and Tony Blair, along with Archbishop of Canterbury Rowan Williams, offered their best wishes in statements to the media. In the 2 months following the announcement of their engagement, Clarence House received 25,000 letters, with 95 or 99% being supportive. 908 hate mail letters were also received, with the more threatening and personal ones sent to the police for investigation. The marriage was to have been on the 8th of April 2005, in a civil ceremony at Windsor Castle, with a subsequent religious service of blessing at St. George's Chapel. However, to conduct a civil marriage at Windsor Castle would oblige the venue to obtain a license for civil marriages, which it did not have. A condition of such a license is that the licensed venue must be available for 1 year to anyone wishing to be married there, and as the royal family did not wish to make Windsor Castle available to the public for civil marriages, the venue was changed to the Town Hall at Windsor Guildhall. On the 4th of April, the marriage was delayed by 1 day to allow the Prince of Wales and some of the invited dignitaries to attend the funeral of Pope John Paul II. On the 9th of April 2005, the marriage ceremony was held. The parents of Charles and Camilla did not attend. Instead, Camilla's son Tom and Charles's son Prince William acted as witnesses to the union. The Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh did attend the service of blessing. Afterward, the Queen held a reception for the newlyweds at Windsor Castle. Performers included the St. George's Chapel Choir, the Philharmonia Orchestra, and Welsh composer Alan Hodnott. As a wedding gift, the Mariinsky Theatre Trust in St. Petersburg brought a Belarusian mezzo-soprano singer, Ekaterina Semenchuk, to the United Kingdom to perform a special song for the couple. Following the wedding, the couple traveled to Charles's country home in Scotland, Birkhall, and carried out their first public duties together during their honeymoon. An important person was missing from the wedding. Who was it, and why did they not show up? Queen Elizabeth missing from the wedding. King Charles and Queen Camilla celebrated their wedding on April 9, 2005, with 2 ceremonies. But Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip did not attend both festivities. More than 35 years after their initial meeting and subsequent marriages to other individuals, future King Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles legally tied the knot in a civil ceremony at Windsor Guildhall. The town hall is a stone's throw from Windsor Castle, but the groom's parents were not among the 28 guests at the intimate ceremony, which Prince William and Prince Harry attended. As sovereign, Queen Elizabeth was head of the Church of England and decided it was not appropriate for her to be at the wedding of 2 people who divorced their previous partners. Charles was married to Princess Diana from 1981 to 1996, while Camilla was married to Andrew Parker Bowles, with whom she shared a son Tom, and daughter Laura, from 1973 to 1995. Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip's absence from the Windsor Guildhall wedding was recreated in the 6th and final season of The Crown, which debuted in 2 parts on Netflix in late 2023. The last episode imagined that the Queen and Duke of Edinburgh intermittently watched the news coverage of the nuptials live on TV as they prepared to head to the service of prayer and dedication at St. George's Chapel in Windsor Castle later that day, as the Queen obsessed about the speech she'd make at the wedding reception. While the Queen failed to attend the wedding, the marriage prospered anyway as Camilla wore the crown. From Duchess to Queen. Camilla became Queen Consort on the 8th of September 2022 upon her husband's accession as Charles III, following the death of Elizabeth II. On the 10th of September, she attended the Accession Council, where Charles was formally proclaimed king, and she served as a witness together with her stepson, William. Following the accession, Camilla announced that she was replacing the traditional role of lady-in-waiting with a new role of Queen's companion, which would be a more occasional and less formal role, assisting her at official engagements, but not in reply to letters or day-to-day planning. On February 13, 2023, Buckingham Palace announced that Camilla had tested positive for COVID-19, which forced her to postpone several public engagements. Camilla was crowned alongside Charles on the 6th of May 2023 at Westminster Abbey, London. On June 16, 2023, Buckingham Palace announced that Charles had appointed Camilla to the Order of the Thistle. On the 5th of July, she accompanied Charles to a national service of thanksgiving at St. Giles's Cathedral, where the honours of Scotland were presented to him. In the same month, it was announced that, unlike the previous consort, Prince Philip, Camilla would not receive a parliamentary annuity, and her activities would be funded through the sovereign grant instead. Camilla and Charles have engaged in 3 state visits and received 3. In March 2023, she accompanied Charles for a state visit to Germany, which was his first foreign visit as monarch. In September and October 2023, the King and Queen undertook state visits to France and Kenya, and in November, Camilla appeared at Charles's side at his first state opening of Parliament as sovereign. Camilla did not define regal in her style, as she received awards for her poor dressing sense. Camilla's controversial fashion style. Camilla topped Richard Blackwell's list of 10 worst-dressed women in 1994, and her name appeared on it again in 1995, 2001, and 2006. In the years after her marriage, she has developed her own style and tried outfits and ensembles by notable fashion designers. She is said to prefer signature tee and shirt dress styles and favors tones of nude, white and navy and round necklines. She has also been praised for her jewelry collections. In 2018, Tatler named her on its list of Britain's best-dressed people, praising her for her hat choices, which have given millinery a good name. Charles and Camilla topped Tatler's Social Power Index for 2022 and 2023. In 2024, the magazine included her on its list of the most glamorous European royals. In 2022, Camilla took part in her first solo magazine shoot for British Vogue, appearing in the July 2022 issue. The shoot took place at Clarence House, and the outfits were chosen from her own wardrobe. In 2023, she was named among British Vogue's The Vogue 25, which annually celebrates influential women pushing British society forward. In response to an inquiry by People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, Buckingham Palace stated in May 2024 that Camilla would no longer procure any new fur garment. How the king chose a woman with a not-so-stylish demeanor over a fashion icon like Princess Diana still baffles the masses. Here is what the beloved Princess Diana said about King Charles before her death. Late Princess Diana details. Marriage to King Charles. The Crown had been steadily chugging along, telling the story of Queen Elizabeth II's highs and lows as wife, mother, daughter, sister, and, above all else, monarch. Most events ripped from reality and the blanks intuitively filled in by the series' writers. But it was really all just leading up to Season 5, which covered the chapter of the royal family's story where the gentle action went spectacularly off the rails. And as fascinating as it was when Prime Minister John Major pushed back against the Queen's request for a yacht renovation on the government's dime, of course, we're talking about the collapse of King Charles and Princess Diana's marriage, which, as seen on The Crown's fourth season, was on shaky footing before they ever said I do on July 29, 1981. Still, after tying the knot in front of 3,500 people at St. Paul's Cathedral, plus another 750 million tuning in on TV, the couple settled in for the presumed long haul. They traveled the world, became parents to Prince William and Prince Harry, and carried out the duties expected of the Prince and Princess of Wales. Diana detailed a vicious cycle to Morton. From day one, she felt unsupported by her husband in her weighty new role. She also didn't trust him, convinced he was still romantically involved with his married ex, Camilla Parker Bowles. In turn, Diana continued, Charles was dismissive of what she acknowledged were her blatant cries for help, including instances of self-harm such as throwing herself down the stairs when she was pregnant with William in 1982. Charles accused her of being a crying wolf. Even if he was at a loss as to how to help his wife, Charles did arrange for Diana to see a psychiatrist in the fall of 1982. He wrote to a friend in Jonathan Dimbleby's 1994 biography, The Prince of Wales, saying the trouble is that one day he would think some steps were being made uphill only to find that they'd slid back 1.5 steps the following day. Remaining loyal to his mom, Princess Diana, Prince Harry never made Queen Camilla a friend. This time, Prince Harry took a bold step on his stepmother. Prince Harry writes on his stepmother, "In tales of princes and princesses, the trope of the wicked stepmother is timeless. At best, these unwelcome new family members are depicted as cold and neglectful. At worst, they pose a treacherous threat. The latter is precisely the image Prince Harry has painted of his stepmother Camilla Parker Bowles, now the Queen Consort, in his memoir Spare. In his book, which was published after a week of leaked excerpts, the 38-year-old royal revealed that, in 2005, he and Prince William pleaded with their father not to marry Camilla. Charles, who is now king, had been engaged in a long-standing affair with Camilla during his 15-year marriage to Princess Diana. Harry writes in Spare that despite him and Willie urging him not to, he was going ahead. However, they pumped his hand and wished him well as they recognized that he was finally going to be with the woman he loved, the woman he'd always loved. In passages that many stepchildren will relate to, Harry reflects on difficult moments adjusting to his father's new marriage. In one story, likely from the late 90s, Harry remembers wondering if Camilla would be cruel to him like all the wicked stepmothers in storybooks, noting that William long harbored suspicions about the other woman. Harry also claims that Camilla converted his bedroom into her dressing room as soon as he moved out of their former residence, Clarence House, when he was 28. Beyond these anecdotes, in the book and promotional interviews, Harry has taken his criticism of Camilla much further with statements on her character. He has alleged that Camilla had a calculated agenda to remedy her public image as the other woman, one that paved the way for her marriage and eventual Queen Consort title. Thanks for watching. While you're still here, make sure to click the video on your screen for more mind-blowing videos. Also, remember to drop a like and subscribe.